This
Can you hear
conference
it?
will now be recorded.
I'm here. Great. Okay. So then let's get started. I'd like to call this meeting of the Taos County Board of County Commissioners special meeting Tuesday, July 12th of 2022. And for the record, it is 9:02. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Commissioner Fambro,
Present.
Mr. Gallegos,
Present.
Chair Vihil,
Present.
Vice Chair Brush,
Present.
Commissioner O'Donnell.
Okay, let's move on to Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Gallegos, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Commissioner Vice Chair Brush, would you please salute to the flag of New Mexico?
Sure
Who's the
thing.
honor?
I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you. Next is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda with deleting items 9 and 10.
Okay,
will
is there a
second.
second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second to approve the agenda deleting 9 and 10. Call for the vote.
Commissioner Fambro,
Yes.
Commissioner Gallegos,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brush,
Yes.
Chair Vihil.
Yes, thank you. Next is citizens' concerns, and I'm going to go ahead and just in case someone is calling in for public comment, please phone 575-737-6310, and citizens wishing to speak shall limit their comments to 3 minutes. I don't see anyone online, but Anissa, if you'll let us know if there's anyone who is calling in. Does not appear. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on. Next is budget matters. We've got item A, discussion, consideration, and decision regarding the approval of updated Taos County procurement and purchasing policy. And Ms. Elsa Vihil, Chief Procurement Officer, it's yours now.
All right, thank you. Let me just pull up something real quick. My screens keep moving on me, sorry. So good morning, Chairwoman and Commission. Before you is a packet, I did do PowerPoint slide on there for the updates for the Taos County procurement and purchasing policy. I know we discussed this and it got tabled at the last meeting, but I'll go fairly quickly through it again in terms of the changes. If you look under page 7 for standard purchasing on number 12, you will notice there's section 12.1.5, which was added as new language in there. And it states it's unlawful to split or separate into small work orders, projects, any work, project, service, or purchases for the purchase of evading the competitive process. No purchaser will willingly or willfully split a single transaction to a series of transactions for the purchase of evading the requirements. Violations may result in disciplinary action or restricted procurement privilege. So we can't artificially divide purchases. That's what that's all about. I noticed we didn't have any language in there, and that's the question that kept coming up time and time again this last year or two from different directors. So I just wanted to make it clear we can't artificially divide based on statute. If you're going to purchase an item, and let's say you're purchasing, for instance, 3 cars, you can't just order one today and then put in a PO tomorrow and artificially divide it just to avoid the procurement process, especially if you don't have a state price agreement in terms of getting quotes and so forth for it. Also on page 10, if you look under section 12.12, which is regular processing for payment, 12.14, This is in regards to procurement violations, unauthorized purchases after the fact purchase. An unauthorized purchase occurs when vendors provide goods or services prior to the establishment and insurance of a valid approved PO. A vendor shall not start services or deliver goods prior to the insurance of a valid PO fully executed by the Taos County Purchasing Department. What we did is on the next paragraph, we took out, there was some language in there that said that the department head and the county manager and the finance director would look at the response and decide whether it was justified. Most of the time it's your department head who's signing off on those because they are responsible for those purchases. So what we put in place of that is the chief procurement officer, finance director and county manager review the response and decide whether it is justified. The form will be modified to include purchasing on there. Any employee may receive disciplinary action as per the Taos County personnel policy and are restricted procurement privileges pursuant to a fact-based determination of such violations. Vendors who violate this directive may be decertified as vendors of Taos County. Vendors are fully aware that we work with daily that a PO is required for any purchases that happen here with any county business. I do have a few vendors out there who just allow them to order stuff without procuring a PO, and this is where we run into these problems. Procurement violations are actually against the law. There are consequences for it, right down to just depending on the dollar amount, it could even be considered a felony. So I am trying to put a little more teeth into it per se, because right in the old policy or the current policy we have, we really don't have any mechanism driving it to make people accountable for their actions, especially when they're making purchases after the fact versus following the procurement process that's in place with the county. It's just to ensure that the money is being spent correctly and not just frivolously on any kind of items. On page 12, under the ITB or RFP process, it's under 12.15.14. That's new language added where it says upon completion of the ITB or RFP, the release to the general public, Taos County employees and bidders must uphold a cone of silence. A cone of silence prohibits bidders as well as employees from lobbying or marketing to Taos County from the moment the solicitation is publicized until the moment a final contract is publicized. So in other words, we're asking everybody to keep everything confidential unless it's presented in an open meeting. I have had problems in the past in procurement where somehow or another information has gone out and it hasn't been from my office, and where we have other solicitors, other vendors trying to solicit, whether it's the commission or other employees here in terms of trying to find out information instead of following the process and speaking only to purchasing based on the packets. Under 13.3 for conference registration, under 13.3.1, we just added the wording where it says the supporting documents must include the training authorization form. Since we've been utilizing that for several years now, that needed to be added in there because that is a requirement that we have through HR. And the biggest one right now is on page 18, which is our purchase levels and required documentation. Our current policy says less than $2,000 and a small purchase no more than $8,000 per year per vendor. We are asking to get approved less than $10,000 due to all the changes within obviously the world and COVID and everything. Prices have gone up dramatically, whether it's in the IT world or even in fleet with tires, with parts. So we're asking that we move up the level to 10,000 and no more than 10,000 per fiscal year per vendor. I'm trying to keep the limit as low as possible because once we hit the $20,000 threshold with the vendor, if we don't have a procurement method in place, let's say a state price agreement or a cooperative agreement, we can put ourselves in hot water because at that point it becomes an auditing finding. We want to make sure that our purchases with our vendors are very clear, and if they do need to exceed the 10,000 per year, we're going to ask that our department heads or elected officials get us 3 written documented quotes or some type of procurement method to procure those items. We wiped out, there was 4 steps, we wiped out one of them. It just didn't make sense to have it. It was like kind of repetitive. So we moved it out and we put $10,001 to $59,999, a small purchase made after obtaining 3 written documented quotes. Of course, you know, with records, a quotation form, and any printouts that we need, any backup. And then 60,000 or more obviously still requires a formal bid procedure. We also looked at the authorization levels, and less than 5,000, we're asking that the finance director and purchasing department have authority to sign off on that. And $5,001 to 60,000, we're asking to require not just the finance director and purchasing, but also the county manager. And of course, $60,001 or more requires county commission approval, which we always do. Also, that got updated were the per diem rates based on, and it's on the last slide of my PowerPoint. I got those off of what the state of New Mexico has passed for FY23. So it went from like 85 in-state regular rate to 151. In-state special, which is Santa Fe, is 194, and out-of-state regular is still at 151. Same thing with partial per diem or return. It went up to 2 but less than 6 hours to $18, 6 plus 6 but less than 12 hours, $40, and more than 12 hours, $55. Also included in that is the change in a meal reimbursement. In-state or out-of-state is $55 a day. And that's based, I think, on whether it's per diem or actuals. And mileage reimbursement also went up to 46 cents a mile, and the private airplane went to $1.35 per nautical mile. Otherwise, we just took out the mileage. We had a mileage chart in there that was outdated. So we took that out of the procurement policy, and pretty much those are the few changes that we asked that the commission consider. I stand for any questions.
Any questions, commissioners? Well, it looks like we have a rate for our private airplanes, if anyone does have a private. Commissioner Fambro? Anyways, let's move forward. Is there a motion to approve?
Some, Madam Mayor, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the Taos County procurement and purchasing policy that is now updated. So any discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, call for the vote, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Fambro,
Yes.
Commissioner Gallegos,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brush,
Yes.
Chair Vigil.
Yes, thank you, Ms.
you.
Vigil, and it seems like everyone's very serious today. Okay, let's.
It's a long week.
Yeah, I know.
Madam Chair, Jerry Hogriff.
Oh, yes.
I'm trying to get somebody's attention. I put a question in the chat. It did not get addressed.
Elsa, did you see that question in the chat?
Well,
Sorry
you
about
brought
that,
it
Sheriff. I
up.
did see it. I just didn't. I can read it if we need to. Do you guys mind? I'm going to go ahead and just maybe Elsa can just explain that real quick.
So you're asking the question if purchases are coming from different funding sources. It had not been done in the past, and it's not a problem. It just depends on the project or the items that you're buying. It doesn't matter what funding source you're using. We still have to follow procurement. In your case, Jerry, I know it has to do with a lot with vehicles or equipment, and most of the time you have a procurement method in place, whether it's a state price agreement, CES, or cooperative. So I never worry about that problem, especially with your department or any other one. So it really doesn't matter. Just what really matters is that we can't separate it. If we use the different funding sources, we put it all together in that purchase order if we have to, as one big purchase. But it's never been a problem in the past.
Right. And
Okay,
I
so
did have them separated in the past because they come from different funding sources. Therefore, we pulled different purchase orders. Is that still how it is? Because it's worked fine and it's not a problem as far as the auditors are or
No,
DFA.
and you're right, Sheriff. What you've done is you bought different equipment with different funding sources, but of course they're not the same type of equipment on each purchase. They're different types of equipment that you purchase. So there hasn't been an issue in the past and probably won't in the future because you guys have been doing everything correctly on your end.
Good to know. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. I'm sorry.
Sheriff, what else is trying to address is, let's just take a road project, is doing a small road project for $60,000 as an example, and then we give the next local vendor, we give 60,000 to one vendor, another 60 to another, and that's artificially dividing it, and that's for one road, and it should have been one bid package versus trying to divide it for the contractor to do it. That's kind of a weird example. I couldn't think of another one, but it's happened. Equipment's a little bit different, and vehicle purchases are a little bit different as well.
Thank you. I
Mr.
believe I
Attio?
understand, and we're good.
Mr. Attio, would you like to?
I was just going to say, one of the times that comes up is when, like, you have an accountant or a an engineer or an attorney's office that they do different jobs, and then you start stacking up $20,000 at a time, and then you can't go over the 60 total that you would need approval for an RFP process from. So I mean, that we just have to watch that. So departments that use someone like an on-call or something, if it isn't part of an RFP, you gotta not go over with small contracts, the purchasing levels. Hope that helped.
Thank you. So next we have new business, item A, approval of MOU with AFSCME Local 2911 for amending compensation plan, last updated in 2021, and incorporating the latest NMDWS Consumer Price Index as attached to all bargaining unit eligible positions. And we've got the county manager presenting.
All right, thank you, Chair Vihil, and good morning again, commissioners. Before you with this memorandum of understanding with ASME Local 2911, this is setting their compensation for an additional 7.92% on top of the pay grades that they're currently in. So we're increasing the pay grades by 7.92%. Why it's an MOU versus getting it approved in the contract that we're almost done negotiating is that way this could be in effect for this upcoming pay period. That's why it's dated within the MOU back to June 25th, because we want to get the sheriff's office employees this additional 7.92% compensation as soon as possible. And this MOU gives us that mechanism to do that. I'm going to stand for any questions from the commission.
Any questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Vice Chair?
I have just a more general question about these increases that we've been working on since April and started approving in May. And it's not necessarily specific to this MOU, but it's kind of, and I'm just wanting to point out, the last 2 weeks, the Taos News has run articles about wages in Taos County, including about municipalities potentially giving raises. Is there a way that we could become part of that conversation? Could I email John Miller and Will Hooper and let them know what's going on at the county since our initial pay raises went into effect May 14th, and now we're bringing everybody else up to parity? So just a question about how we get that word out, because it's great news.
Okay. No, well, I can have a conversation with Will. I'll give him a call after the meeting and go from there.
Thank you. It's great news. I'm glad we're able to do this for all of our people. And it hopefully should be a recruiting tool for us as well.
Right.
Give-
And
give people-
we'll probably have to revisit. Maybe I was a little too quick to take off the executive session. I probably should have left it on for another reason, but I'll talk to each one of you individually on it.
Yes, Commissioner Fambro.
So Brent, you were saying an additional 7.92%. Is this an additional from what the 7.92 that we had already approved?
No,
It's the same.
it's the same one. I apologize, Commissioner Fambro. This is the 7.92 on their current pay matrix. So this is
Right.
adding new starting wages for each of their line, for each of their pay matrix. I'm missing the word.
The
Where
step,
each-
or it's
steps.
either the steps
Yeah.
or the
Right.
range. Yes.
So this increases each one of the steps.
Okay, got it. With that, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the MOU with ASME Local 2911 for amending compensation plan, incorporating the latest consumer price index to all bargaining unit eligible positions.
Is there a second?
I will second.
We have a motion and a second to approve, as stated well by Commissioner Fambro. Any discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Commissioner Fambro,
Yes.
Commissioner Gallegos,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brush,
Yes.
Chair Hill.
Yes. Next, before us is approval of MOU with AFSCME Local 2911 for initiating a 1% para buy down to the Municipal Police Plan 5 pending final approval from para. Manager Jaramillo?
Thank you, Chair Vihil. Again, we're doing this memorandum of understanding as a precursor that we're going to get the approval from para. Ms. Elam has sent over the different para resolutions for them to review at an upcoming meeting. This board will approve para resolutions, and then we still need final approval by the para board. The reason it's a MOU is kind of like the other one is so once para approves it, it'll go into effect. So we're not sure, we're almost done with union negotiations. So if the union negotiations go into effect after para approves it, then this will allow the sheriff's office employees to receive that para buy down for their union members. And this is an additional 0.5 that was negotiated for by Local 2911. And stand for any questions.
Any questions? Vice Chair, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Jaramillo. I know we don't have a ton of the public or maybe any on the meeting today, but just kind of like for the record or for people who might want to check into it, could you just talk about in just very like real everyday terms about what this actually would mean for the affected employees?
Public Employees Retirement Association over the next 4 years is increasing the employer and employee contribution. On the employee side, there is going to be a 0.5% increase. So by doing this, a 1% increase, that the employee won't see the effect of that increase. And by doing this additional 0.5 to get us to a total of 1, they will see a little more in their paycheck because the county's portion will also be bought down. So the net effect is the employees of Local 2911 will be seeing a increase to their take-home pay.
Thank you so much. Perfect.
You're welcome.
Okay, commissioners, is there a motion to approve? I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second to approve the MOU with AFSCME Local 2911 for initiating that 1% para buy down to the municipal police plan pending final approval from para. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
Commissioner Fambro,
Yes.
Commissioner Gallegos,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brush,
Yes.
Chair Vigil,
Yes.
and Commissioner O'Donnell, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, commissioners, adjournment, and if they're all in agreement, say signal. Thumbs up.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion
Second.
to adjourn. Okay. Great. Okay. Adjourned. Oh, we'll see you all.
9:28.
Peace be with you. Peace be with you all.